Let's begin with a drum set. Listen for an explosive live sound. The snare should be crisp and the cymbals should ring.
I admire you when my living has a limit of desire to keep it going. I'm just knowing that my time with you makes a difference. How I'm feeling when I vibe with you. They can't divide us two. We got a bond like 007, right? Even on Devil's Night, you show me what the heavens like. Go ahead and spread your light, though I can barely see. I know you're there with me, my personal therapy. Some days I wish I was more like you. Your certainty, your attitude. Keep doing what you're doing, I ain't mad at you. I'm just wishing that I had that too. Some days I wish I was more like you. Your certainty, your attitude. Keep doing what you're doing, I ain't mad at you. Just to know you, I'm glad I do. I want you to view yourself the way you see me. When you're feeling alone, I'll be a sanctuary, yeah. I want you to view yourself the way you see me. When you're feeling alone, I'll be a sanctuary. You inspire me. Look at you crazy when you tell me you admire me. Not an example for anybody to try to be. We'll call you bluff, but I know you wouldn't lie to me. Just a surprise to me. We got a bond tight, no one can come between. I have respect for you, you have your love for me, and that's enough for me. All I need to get by, let me be the method to your Mary J. Blige. So many times I felt defeated. You always know the right thing to say for when I need it. I wanna do the same thing for you to keep it even. You can call me anytime, you don't ever need a reason. I'm right here with you. Never could forget you. All the things that we've been through, everything we went through. Hey, none of it was simple, but I'm right here with you. Some days I wish I was more like you. Your certainty, your attitude. Keep doing what you're doing, I ain't mad at you. I'm just wishing that I had that too. Some days I wish I was more like you. Your certainty, your attitude. Keep doing what you're doing, I ain't mad at you. Just to know you, I'm glad I do. I want you to view yourself the way you see me. When you're feeling alone, I'll be a sanctuary, yeah. I want you to view yourself the way you see me. When you're feeling alone, I'll be a sanctuary.
Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 8:01 a.m. You are listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. I hope that you're all doing well this morning. It's Tuesday, the 26th of July. This month has moved by extremely fast. Yikes. People are hitting me up with stuff. Curtis, man, August 30th, man, August 20th, blah, blah, blah. Like, whoa. Holy cow. We got here quick. Yikes. So yeah, it's about to be fall. But I don't want to move too fast on y'all. I know you're still enjoying the beautiful sunshine, and some of y'all still got birthdays coming up and everything, so we won't move too fast on you. But yeah, it's July the 26th. It's Tuesday. It's a beautiful day outside. It's nice, and it's really nice outside. The sun is beaming in all parts of the city. It is shining on every stone, every sidewalk. It's just bling bling outside, but it's not oppressively hot. It's a nice little breeze going on out there. We're coming to you live from downtown Aurora. 5 East Downer Place Suite T is where we're located. I didn't make that up. That's the real address, Suite T. They know we all good up in here. Yeah, it's a beautiful day in downtown Aurora. Went to Treadwell. Shout out to Treadwell Coffee. Went to Treadwell for my coffee this morning, as I do every single morning, to get my little pickup. If you're just tuning in, or if you've just discovered the show, we welcome you. We hope that you're able to take part with us Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. We like to do this. We like to shout out people and support small businesses and local businesses, dig through some of the topics of the day with a positive bent and an overwhelmingly positive disposition on the city of Aurora. The time is 8:03 a.m. Today's going to be a good show. Jen Mendoza's here. Jen Mendoza will be on the show on Thursday. Sydney Morales, good morning. Aisha Saxon, oh my God, look at all these people. Keith Williams is here. Josue Pais, coffee, please. Oh, Lord. Good morning. Yes, this month is moving fast. It is, bruh. It is. It super is. I love y'all, man. Jim Mendoza said, just got back from Kentucky. It's good to be back in A-Town. So you went from the country back to the city. Oh, snap. Frog in the corner and he go riding. Crambone. Yes, that's right. Okay, we got a lot to talk about today. Our guest today is Brooke Shanley. She is the chair of the Kendall County Democratic Party. She's going to be here to talk to us about gun safety, gun reform. Currently, there's a few major pieces of legislation going through the Senate, I believe, is where it's at right now, to do something about assault weapons. As you guys know, if you listen to this show, your host, my words, nobody else's, I am a supporter of the 1994 ban on assault weapons. And by extension, good morning, Aurora, I would welcome the reinstatement of that ban. We did a piece on that, it was about a week ago on a Tuesday, last week on a Tuesday actually, detailing a great article in the National Review that really broke down the data. That's what it did. It broke down the data and the numbers of the people saved and the incidents, that did not happen in regards to guns and gun safety and things like that. So that was a really, really, really interesting piece to read. I'm going to share that, but we got some things going on. Brooke's been on the show before. And as a matter of fact, she just walked into the studio. Oh, Brooke Shanley, how are you?
I'm good, Curtis. How are you doing this morning?
Good. Let's hit the claps. I will,
right? I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. Everything's going well. I was talking to our wonderful listeners about how nice of a day it is outside and everything.
Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. You had a little car trouble. Was that
Sometimes when you go away to visit the baby brother in Denver and you come back, your car is dead the next morning.
Gremlins come. That's what we call them, gremlins.
It's bad because it was silent dead.
Wow.
It doesn't make any noise.
Turn the key and
Nothing.
Yeah. Damn. Well, we're glad you're here. I looked at there was a great article, and by the way, and you were on the news. You were on Fox News speaking.
Yep.
I believe.
That's right.
Now, I've got the article here that's from ildems.com.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll read the statement, then we'll get into it.
Sure.
And what I also want to talk about, too, is what I'd like to highlight is the wow factor, right? The wow factor. This is going back to the proposed gun raffle in Yorkville. Is that it? That was a wow factor kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It just kind of blew your mind to be so local. But let me read this real quick. Okay. On July 24th, the Kendall County Republican Party was scheduled to hold a gun raffle featuring a Smith & Wesson 5.56 .223 caliber high-powered semi-automatic weapon nearly identical to the Smith & Wesson M&P 15 that was used to take 7 lives in Highland Park during the devastating massacre on July 4th. Statement is, our nation and our state are facing an epidemic of gun violence, and the horrific attack in Highland Park is a tragic reminder that we have so much more work to do. It's inappropriate and offensive for the Kendall County Republican Party to raffle off an assault weapon at a political fundraiser, especially a gun so similar to the one used to take 7 innocent lives in Highland Park just 1 week ago. It goes on after that. That's actually Robin Kelly.
Right.
Robin Kelly's words. So first of all, how did you feel when you saw that?
So, I saw that, I heard about that, and, on July 4th, I personally was marching in a parade because the Kendall County Democrats had a parade unit marching with Lauren Underwood in Yorkville in their 4th of July parade. And coming home from that and getting all the media blasts and the dings on the phone coming back, really, when you hear about shootings and tragedies of that nature, the horrors of it, and you're getting it in real time, knowing that you were literally just in the same type of event.
Exactly.
It really, really, despite the fact that the location was so close to home,
right,
it hits even closer.
Right.
And not to mention that, in my role as chair of the Kendall County Dems, we were supporting candidates throughout petition and primary season, and one of those was the mayor of Highland Park. So I got to know her, and knowing that she would be in the parade as well.
Nancy Rochering, that's her name? Okay.
Yeah. And so, then all of a sudden it becomes even that much closer.
Right.
So to turn around and hear that, there's this gun raffle going on, and not only is it a gun raffle, but it contains, out of the 4 arms that were being raffled off, one of them is this, military platform, assault platform type firearm that is so similar to the one that was used in the Highland Park shooting.
Right.
That's just, it's appalling.
Right.
It's appalling. That's
the word, isn't it? I mean, that's serious. And like when I saw, because somebody told me about it first, they were like, there's a, like somebody, before I saw the post, somebody said something like, there's a gun raffle in Yorkville. And I was like, we were like in front of Treadwell. And I was like, all right, right? It meant nothing to me. I actually didn't think it was real. I was like, okay. An hour later, I saw the thing. And I was like, I was appalled. Now, this isn't the first time this kind of thing happens. Like, unfortunately, giving away guns at political fundraisers is a thing.
It is a thing. Gun raffles in general have been going on for longer than I have data on, right?
Right.
And not just with political entities raffling off firearms, but with other organizations there are other organizations that also hold these type of raffles. When I first found out about it, my thought was, how is that even possible?
Right.
Not knowing what I don't know. And so I did a little research, and it is completely legit and legal. These raffles can be held. And as far as political entities are concerned, the raffle process for any type of raffle requires the solicitation of a permit for the particular raffle from the Illinois State Board of Elections. And so there is paperwork that you have to fill out that discloses the time and the location of the raffle, what's being raffled off, the value, where you're getting the materials from, et cetera, right? And so you submit the application, and then you have to wait for your approval. For example, the Kendall County Democrats, we submitted an application for a raffle that was going to be held during our We the People brunch on June 4th. We were denied our permit, and we were raffling off gift baskets. But because there was something that was off there was like one little part where a name was off and it didn't match exactly, they wouldn't issue the raffle permit until we corrected that. So I know that the Illinois State Board of Elections is very, careful about minding their P's and Q's on their application process.
Right.
So in order to have obtained a permit for this type of raffle, they would have had to go through the necessary paperwork. So it's, while completely legal, is it the best thing that you should be raffling off? There are a lot of other ways for political organizations as well as candidates and elected officials to raise funds in a society where the amount of violence is continuously increasing, especially with regards to firearm violence.
Right.
Is it the best choice to feed more firearms into the communities, especially ones that are as high powered as this one is,
right,
and capable of doing the amount of destruction as this one particular one is? Is that really the best choice, and should we not be holding ourselves to a higher standard?
Right.
It has nothing to do with legalities or Second Amendment rights or whether or not they can or cannot do it.
Right.
It's about really taking that step back and examining where we are as society, and if we're supposed to be trying to create the society where we would like to live, is this what we need to have happening?
And it would have been 20 days after a shooting in which 7 people were killed, and there's an 8-year-old boy who is now paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what kind of baffles me about it too, kind of, piggybacking on what you said. I would think, so it was legit. They dotted their I's across their T's to be able to do said event. You would think, what does it say that nobody would look at it and say, you know what? Now's not the best time. We'll postpone it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seems to me like that was just the low hanging American fruit, and I wonder why nobody would pick that. What does it say? I guess we're trying to read minds, and I'm not. We
are trying to read minds, and it's all supposition, right? It's all supposition and assumption at that point, right? Which starts to put us in a very dangerous ground, because we know what happens when people assume things.
Sure.
Right? The Kendall County GOP has stated on television, in fact, in that little news clip that was on Fox News Chicago, that, they had scheduled this raffle for a while. It had been ongoing well before the shooting, etc.
Right.
But using my teacher brain, right? Going into pulling out my professional skill sets, right? As an educator, I know that part of our daily practice is to do something and then reflect on it and make the changes necessary to do better moving forward.
Absolutely. Right.
When you see something's happening, if it's within your power to do so to make it better, then you should be striving to do better.
Right.
Right? So maybe the answer for them, possibly, would not have been, and as much as I would have liked to see the whole raffle canceled, but if they're going to go with the argument that, it's been ongoing for a while, they had it planned for a while, et cetera, okay, at least swap out that one particular arm for something else.
Right.
Not
exactly.
as capable of such tremendous destruction.
Exactly. It was just I mean,
bare minimum.
Yeah. I'm just like, again, it's not the fact that they were doing it. My dad once, I was like, I was 10. My dad won like in a gun raffle, like Smith & Wesson sent him a new grip for, a handgun. Like, people have won in raffles for firearm companies forever, but like, to just not change it, it's just really tone deaf, is what Dan said. I think that's a good example of tone deaf.
Mm-hmm. It's very tone deaf. I agree with Dan wholeheartely.
He says good morning, by the way.
Good morning, Dan.
And Jen says good morning to you as well.
Good morning. So, like you said, you talked about your dad. I can talk about my dad too. My dad's a Navy vet, right? We had arms in the house. My dad still has firearms. And we were taught to have a great respect for them.
Right.
Very similarly to how we were taught to have a great respect for cars. Because as far as my father was concerned, a car was as much a lethal weapon
Right.
as a firearm, right? So we just grew up in a household with that type of respect.
Right.
And in Kendall County, we have a lot of Democrats. It's not even a Democrat versus Republican thing. It's not. We have a lot of Democrats who own guns,
Right.
who are gun owners. They do so responsibly. They understand, the power that's held within a firearm and the damage that can be done. And they make sure that they have all their proper licensures and they use it responsibly in the right environments, etc. So it's not about banning guns. It's not about, trying to take away people's rights. It's not a question of one side of the aisle or the other,
Right.
really, at the end of the day. It's about, do we as a society need military styled armaments that are capable of such horrific destruction
What's interesting
on our streets?
Yeah, too, when we mentioned like about the view of it from both parties, like everybody I know who's a veteran has told, like, I don't know one vet, and a lot of veterans. I don't know one who's been like, no, Curtis, we do need military weapons on civilian streets. I don't know what. I haven't met, seriously, and these guys are Republicans and they're Democrats.
Right.
I've not met one.
Right.
Ali Hernandez, Marine Corps vet. I mean, we know a lot of vets. Not one has been like, no, you're wrong. We need to have assault weapons on our streets. So in terms of being tone deaf, I feel like there's a double tone deafness. Because if the same people who are in that party and the GOP can, if GOP voters who are veterans can say, yeah, we don't need it, then certainly the leadership would be well served to listen to the people in their own party kind of thing. Or is there, and we know that there's money funneled to organizations to support by large national gun groups. So my other question is like, is there a benefit to just willfully backing guns no matter what? If you're on that, if you're so moved to do it.
I mean, your guess is as good as mine at that point.
Okay.
Right. As far as what I know, the polling that is available and that I have heard of,
right,
very much matches what you were saying, that there are people on both sides of the aisle,
right,
who are very well versed,
right,
in firearms, who will come out and say that we don't need assault style weapons,
right,
within our communities.
So on to lighter subjects. Tracy Duran is here. Good morning to you, Tracy. Groupthink among the GOP causes people not to question the obvious. Groupthink, absolutely. Good morning, Josie Mendoza Geller, tuning in from enjoying a gentle rain in southern Illinois. Josie's been doing a lot of traveling. Good to see it. Good to see it. I got some local. Got some Paramount Theater stuff. Paramount's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, they do.
Gonna get to that here in a second, but before we get to a little bit of a break, how are things going with the party right now in Kendall County, and what are the big initiatives, big pushes at the moment for Kendall County Dems?
Sure. So things are moving right along in Kendall County.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, along with the rest of the county parties, so our neighboring counties and the counties throughout the state, all of the county parties are having what they call their county convention,
Okay.
which is where the newly elected precinct committee people get sworn in.
Word
Yay,
up.
Curtis. Don't be so shy about that, Curtis.
I'm not. That was the segue. Served it up. 48th precinct. What?
Go, Curtis.
That's right.
So the newly elected precinct committee people get sworn in, and then afterwards we move into a session to elect county party leadership.
Right.
So all the county parties will be nominating and electing their party leadership for a term of 2 years.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of nervous. I'm a little bit nervous. We got, ours is what, tomorrow night, 7:30. Yeah, I'm nervous.
Are you nervous? What makes you nervous?
You know what? Because I know there's a lot to learn.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to it. I know that it's serious. It's a big deal, and democracy is not a spectator sport, and I give a damn. So I'm kind of like, I just want to, how it is. You just don't want to mess. You just want things to go as right as possible, I guess. But since I'm going in a learning fashion, since I really don't know what to expect, I am just a little bit maybe not nervous. I'm just a little bit, I don't know, just kind of like night before Christmas kind of thing. Like, what's it gonna be? What am I gonna hear? What am I gonna do? So,
you know what you're gonna do, Curtis? You're gonna do exactly what you do on this show every day. You're gonna talk to people and build relationships.
Okay,
That's
cool.
what you're gonna do.
I'm ready for it then. Good morning, Precinct All right, Angie Tapia is here.
Oh, hi! Is Vivian watching?
Oh wow, hold on. She says, "Good morning, Miss Shanley. The parents of D131 miss you. Wishing you all the best in your new endeavors." Oh, what a beautiful shout out, Angie Tapia. Thank you very much for that. Hit the claps for that.
Say hi to Vivi.
Right. Jen Ingram is here. Good morning to you as well, Jen Ingram. Glad to see you. Angie Tapia, she says yes. Vivi? Mm-hmm. Vivi's okay. Shout out to District 131. Shout out. Okay. So real quick, here's what's going on with the Paramount, you guys. So last night was the return of Dollar Movie Mondays. And last night was 200 Cartas, which was presented in Spanish with English subtitles. The next one is going to be the 1954 original classic Godzilla on Monday, August 1st, presented in Japanese with English subtitles, and I will be there. As a matter of fact, we can make it a GAMS night.
Ooh,
if you want to see, come on, get your dollar, join. We'll be all in one row, hanging out. Sour Patch Kids, we'll be having fun. Okay, Dreamgirls is next on August 8th. Great movie. Back to the Future, the original, is September 5th. That's a great movie. That is a really good movie. Elect Goldie Wilson. That's an inspiring movie. Mm-hmm. Raiders of the Lost Ark, September 12th. Encanto, Spanish with English subtitles, September 19th. The original Clue, 1985, September 26th. And October 3rd is The Nightmare Before Christmas, a fantastic movie. Really good. Also, today and tomorrow, I told you guys about this last week, very important here. As we know, unfortunately, Luigi's is going out of business. I know. Yes, Josue Pais, Godzilla, come on, sit with your boy. But today and tomorrow, there is an auction of the equipment inside of Luigi's. Highlights include a full line of commercial kitchen equipment, banquet chairs, tables, and serving equipment, self-contained refrigeration, arcade, and redemption games, and more. Shipping service will be available as well. So the auction starts today at 10 o'clock a.m. and tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. 41 years in business, Luigi's Pizza has closed. Also, 12-inch pizzas will be on sale today and tomorrow during the auction for $5. Cheese, pepperoni, and sausage. For more information, call 630-756-5451. That number again is 630-756-5451. The time is 8:25 a.m. Okay, Jen Ingram. I have been bidding all week. Okay, Jen, do your thing. Gonna paint people's faces with an industrial kitchen. Just spray it on their face. Don't even paint it. Okay. So right now there is, I believe Nancy Rotering went to the White House and she met with President Biden.
Yes, she did.
That was pretty exciting. She met with President Biden to give representation and sinew to the new efforts for gun control. And then there's also Maura Hershower. Mm-hmm. I think she has a bill right now, HB 5566. Is it, if I'm not mistaken, to address gun safety and everything. How do you feel these efforts are going? What would you personally like to see? I'm kind of on an outside looking in kind of thing with it, but what do you feel?
Well, I'm on the outside looking in too. Okay. I mean, I may be chair of the Kendall County Democratic Party, right? But as far as legislation that's moving through the state or the federal level, that has to be written and put through committees and stuff first beforehand. And with everything going on with the primary and moving into the general election, really at the county level and the county party, our goal is to make sure that we are helping to get people elected to office. So that's honestly where our focus has been. I have heard that there is legislation in the state. I actually chatted with one of my contacts in the Democratic Party of Illinois, who I've been working closely with on this. In fact, the statement that you opened the show with from DPI was a joint statement from both of us, right? So we've been in constant communication, and I did reach out to see if there was anything that, you know, he wanted to provide me info on to bring to the show with you this morning, but a lot of it's still in the works and still in the process.
Right.
And so my understanding as an individual is that we're looking to have some type of sensible gun reforms, right? It's not about eliminating people's right to have arms, own firearms.
Right.
It's about what we were talking about earlier in the program. Do we need more of these high-powered assault rifles within our communities?
Right.
Right? From my perspective as a teacher, right, this July 4th shooting hit even closer to home. I mean, we're coming off Uvalde, and then now the July 4th, and now the gun raffle in Kendall County. And as a teacher, I know in the schools how kids react to the different drills as far as lockdowns go, right?
Right.
I know what educators go through. In a previous school district, I was the president of our union, and we would have trainings with the local police departments, and they were very standard, and they were never comfortable for anybody, right?
Trainings and stuff.
The type of training you go through to whenever you're holding a training in a school about the possibility of a mass shooting, that's just not a comfortable training for everybody, right? Like, I don't think anyone can disagree with that, right? But we do it because we know that when the adrenaline kicks in, your thinking abilities, they go, right? And you act on instinct. So the more you train, the more your body will react on instinct in the ways that you want it to.
Right.
That being said, there were a couple of occasions in that previous school district where our trainings left our teachers much more traumatized than what should be expected, because and it's dependent on the individual police department, and it's not to bash the police department because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and different people do different things different ways, right? But this particular police department, this particular year, because we had been working with them for years, and this was the first time this happened, but I've since heard stories from other teachers in other districts of similar events. They brought in their training firearms, right? The ones that aren't meant to harm people, and they put blanks in their firearms, however that works. But they actually, in this particular instance, handed off those arms to teachers and had them point them at other teachers. And there were some other things that were going on in the conversation, such as accusing teachers of being the reason why their students died because the cabinet wasn't placed in a certain place in the classroom. And so these things are happening in schools and trainings. Now, those type of trainings with teachers and police department happen after school hours, so there's not children present, right? So let's just be very clear on that. When we do the drills in school with students, it's very much there's an announcement on a PA. You go through what you've trained your students to do, and you just practice it till someone comes to unlock your door and let you out. But the trainings are scary for kids, and a lot of times when you're sitting in the classroom in silence, you'll see some of them shake because some are more sensitive than others, right? And even the ones that don't show it, it doesn't mean it's not impacting them. And so when we're looking at putting through sensible gun reform and trying to remove some of those massively destructive weapons, I think that it's where we should be moving. We don't need that on our streets. We don't need that potentially coming into our schools.
I agree.
And we don't need it harming anybody in any part of our society. But putting some reforms and on those type of rifles and that type of armament, it's not the fix it. It's a Band-Aid.
Right.
It's a Band-Aid. It's just one piece of the solution.
In your opinion, what does the solution look like?
Well, we need to start looking at what is motivating people to actually come in and do that kind of damage?
Okay. All right. Here's the thing. I want to pause right there. We'll come back to that, but because I have a question I want to ask you.
Sure.
I've heard something that I believe is it's one of the most ridiculous things I've heard in life. That the answer to this is that teachers should be armed. As a teacher, what do you say to such a, and look, I feel now, because I feel, give me your hand. Listen.
I love you, Curtis.
Listen, I love you too. How do you feel when you hear something like that? Because to me, it's just, it insults your intelligence, first of all. How do you feel when you hear something like that?
The idea, if someone were to ask me if teachers should be armed, without a second's pause, it is a resounding no.
Right.
It's a resounding no.
Right.
If anybody suggesting that has never been in a room of 30 plus 7-year-olds,
right,
who love their teachers to death and spontaneously hug them,
right,
all the time.
It's a sick.
They're very impulsive,
right,
humans, because they're children and they're still growing and developing, right?
Right.
And what do children do? They run up to you and they hug you because they do that.
Right.
And they're going to do that while you're carrying a firearm? Or you're going to somehow make it so that doesn't happen anymore? But let's go a step further, because the same people that are advocating for teachers to be armed in schools are trying to say that we don't know how to implement curriculum.
Right.
They're trying to remove all sorts of books from our classrooms. And in some states, they're trying to make teachers show a year's worth of, they were trying to push forward, I believe in Indiana, to put forth a year's worth of lesson plans up front, so they could be examined. Now, these people that want teachers to be armed do not trust teachers to be the professionals that they are to actually implement and design and implement curriculum and help develop students into successful human beings, right?
It's mentally and morally
bankrupt. But they somehow think, although we can't handle all the stuff that we are professionally trained to do, we should definitely carry a firearm. But
I don't trust you because you're teaching kids who Harriet Tubman was.
Right.
But I want you to have a firearm. I mean, it's like mentally and morally bankrupt.
It doesn't make sense. So someone please make it make sense, because to me it doesn't. And I'm always open to hearing perspectives, right? I think we learn more when we sit down and listen. It doesn't mean I have to agree, but I do want to listen. But I don't get it. And then they're suggesting this, but that requires money.
Right.
So much money.
Right.
Yet teachers are still spending out of pocket for supplies they need and for extras.
Right.
Like Kleenex.
Right. Oh, I know. I know. Believe
You're a
me.
parent.
I know. I mean. Listen, parents are having to bring, in some cases, some school districts, teachers. Maybe the school district will, pay you back for your stuff that you bought. I mean, if they do, it's very minimal. Right. In comparison. Reimbursing.
It's reimbursements, and it's minimal, 100, maybe 200 if you're in a good district.
Right.
Not a good district, but a district that has more resources.
I know what you mean.
And I'm sorry, I spend that before the school year even starts.
Right. The time, what's the time? Time is 8:35 a.m. I do want to read your statement, and then we'll get to the next piece of news here. Quote, as a teacher and as a resident of Kendall County, as a teacher and a resident of Kendall County, the idea of raffling off an assault weapon to someone in my community is appalling. It is just plain wrong to use a gun this similar to the one used in the Highland Park shooting for a political fundraiser. We do not oppose responsible gun ownership, but we also do not need more military-style assault weapons in Kendall County. We ask the Kendall County Republican Party to cancel this gun raffle out of respect to the people of Highland Park and out of respect for our community and its safety. The event was canceled. It was the 24th is when it was supposed to happen.
Was it canceled? Because as far as I know, it still happened. It just happened at a different location.
Oh, well, this is a great teaching moment here. Right, because I just saw that it was supposed to happen at Mike and Denise's in Yorkville. Mike and Denise said the event was canceled. They wasn't going to do it. So that does not mean that it did not happen. Well said. You are right. So I don't know if it did happen or not. Honestly, to be quite frank with you, my whole thing, I was appalled, I was outraged, I was shocked, and I was really ashamed that it would happen. But I'm glad, honestly, that Micah Denise just canceled it, because I like Micah. That was the thing, right? Now I said the day
I had this conversation with people too. How many of us here in Aurora who run in political circles,
right?
And whether we're candidates, elected officials, or organizations, right? Hold our fundraisers and events at Mike and Denise's,
right? And it wasn't the Aurora one, to be clear. It was the Yorkville one. Right. And I was just like, yo, what the hell? Now, honestly, it was not enough. It was not enough to make me not eat their pizza again. Right? It wasn't enough. I mean, I
their wings.
Fire. I mean, they got, shout out to Mike and Denise. But I really was like, why? Why would they? Right? That's the whole thing. It's like if Good Morning Aurora just started publishing some nonsense, we need more teachers. People would say, why? Why? Because they don't expect that.
Right.
That was the whole thing. So shout out to them for just making what I believe was the right moral decision. Was the right moral decision.
I believe it definitely was. Now where that, from what perspective that decision was made, is unknown to us. Right?
Well, I mean, let's speculate. I really believe that it was, and I could be naive. I really believe that said owners looked at it like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I really believe that they thought that, yeah, the look, the timing, it's not worth it for us. I could be wrong.
I would like to hope that's the reason.
You know,
I'd like to hope the reason is that. I do want to know, and maybe the people listening know better than I do. So maybe someone in the audience there can refresh my memory.
Yeah, we got some smarties.
Because we're sitting here making differentiations between the Mike and Denise's in Aurora and the one in Yorkville, and I believe within the last couple of years, the Aurora location was sold to new owners, but kept the same name. Is that correct? There was something about it being sold to new owners.
Oh, I did not know that.
So I'm not sure if it's still the same owners or not.
Huh. If anybody knows, please let us know that in the chat. That'd be helpful to know. Erica, good morning to you too. Okay, so real quick, here's the news. What a great conversation. See, this is what we're talking about, man. This is what we do. Time is 8:40. Holy cow. Time is going by quick. All right. Here's the next Broadway shows coming up with our friends from Paramount. August 31st to October 16th will be Dreamgirls, live on stage right downtown at our beautiful Paramount Theater. The Sound of Music is next, November 9th through January 8th. And then starting on February 1st will be Into the Woods. Okay. Now also there is the Bold series. So this will be the third and fourth shows of the Bold series to play at the Paramount Theater. This is coming up August 10th through 11th. The Tony Award winner for Best Musical, Fun Home. This will be at the Copley Theater, North Island Center, 8 East Galena Boulevard, which is right across the street from the Paramount Theater. Copley Theater is where folks get married at. They got a nice bar in there. It's really, really great place. Shout out to everybody. Joel Frieders, Jim Cordy, all you great people. All right, let's read a little bit about this. It's an unforgettable, groundbreaking musical like no other, based on the popular graphic novel of the same name by Alison Bechdel. All right, where memories linger like snowflakes and the truth is always opaque, where finding yourself means looking to the past and seeing yourself reflected in your father, who is exactly the same and still so different than you. It's a place filled with humor, secrets, anger, unexpected joy, self-revelation, and the most confounding thing of all, family. This Tony Award-winning Best Musical Fun Home, books and lyrics are by Lisa Crone, music by Janine Tesori. Bechdell's oh, gosh. I don't know what it is. Sip it up. Brooke, if you would be so kind, sip it up. Oh. For those of you people who just discovered this morning show, when we mess up words, we sip it up. We calm ourselves and we try it again. Okay. Read this slow. Bechdell's autobiographical story about her discovery of her own sexuality, her relationship with her closeted gay father, and her attempts to unlock the mystery surrounding his life is in line with the bold mission to bring fearless, thought-provoking, and unexpected new forms of live theater to downtown Aurora. Shouts out to Jim Cordy, Paramount Theater's artistic director. He's the co-director of Fun Home with Landry Fleming, her Paramount directing debut. Good stuff. Okay, the time is 8:42 a.m. Norma Peterson is here. Good morning, Norma Peterson.
Yay, Norma.
Norma Peterson is the executive director of Document the Abuse. Learn more about the EAA, the Evidentiary Abuse Affidavit, and all of its great work and its infusion into law enforcement. Michael Rayford is here. Good morning to you, Michael Rayford. Keel is here. Good morning, peeps. Michael Rayford, A-Town, Angie Tapia. We said hi to Angie. Dora Sanchez Soto, good morning to you. Shout out to McCarty Mills.
Hi, Dora.
Hey, Dora. All right, Dan says, at the annual school board meeting, delegates voted against teachers carrying guns in school.
Thank you, Dan.
That's what I'm talking about. See, that's what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for that, Dan. We appreciate that.
Yes, we do.
Emily is here. Good morning to you, Emily. Dan says as well, this has come up at the annual Illinois Association of School Boards the past few years. This issue is being pushed by downstate districts. Mm-hmm. Wow. A lot of influence. A lot of influence to be able to have something which it seems like everybody up here seems to be ridiculous. A lot of influence.
It is, they have a lot of influence. There are a lot of people downstate that believe that that we should fight gun violence with more guns.
Right.
It's definitely, if two people get in an argument, the person who screams louder isn't the one, right? They're both screaming.
Yeah. It's like
the argument's not going to get solved. So
it's like a bar fight and giving everybody a shot.
Right.
Like, look, hold on, guys. Shot. Let's
Here,
start.
fuel up.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't work. So, going back to where we were earlier in the show, right? We talked about how legislation, while good, isn't going to solve the issue. Right? It's one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
And to solve any issue, you really need to dig deep into the root causes. And the roots for this run really deep.
Okay.
And it's not going to be an easy fix or an overnight fix. And we need to start looking at the conditions in our society that influence how people grow and develop and their lived experiences. So things such as food insecurity, housing insecurity, financial insecurity, all those play a huge factor. And then we need to start looking at our health systems too. Because we all know that healthcare is not where it should be in this country, right? We're not very proactive. We're very reactive in our stylings, and good healthcare really is accessible to the privileged. Right?
Sure.
And then if we go beyond physical healthcare and talk about the mental health care aspect, that's even more difficult to obtain proper mental health care.
Right.
So we need to start looking at how our society works and the systems that we have in place, and start really looking at creating legislation that's going to help shift the way our systems are and change the way they work, so that we can ensure that everybody has access to good quality food. No more of this food desert garbage, and no more of the unhealthy food items being more easily accessible and more readily available than things that would be considered more nutritious,
Right.
right? We need to look even into how we grow our food here and the amount of chemicals and toxins and the amount of genetic modifications that exist in our foods here that don't exist in other developed nations, right? Or nations deemed to be developed.
Yeah.
Because even if you're putting something into your body, fruits and vegetables, things that we understand to be more nutritious in nature, right? Than maybe fast food,
Right.
right? It doesn't necessarily mean it has the same nutritional value as those same fruit and vegetables in other countries because of the way we grow them, because of what we put on them, because of what's already in our environment. So this is a multifaceted issue, and we need to start looking at how all the pieces play together and work in a multi-pronged approach to start creating some type of solution that's going to enable our future generations to grow up with healthier minds and bodies and the ability to be more successful on their terms.
What's your opinion of red flag laws?
Explain to me, please.
Red flag laws. So we'll use the Highland Park shooter as an example. So, and in domestic violence cases as well. So if a person is threatening, then there's the boyfriend loophole. All of these are shades of the same kind of thing to be able to strengthen red flag laws in the books. But we're dating, we break up. Now I'm stalking you. I've got a firearm. I'm sending you a text of the firearm. I'll kill anybody else who comes over your house, this kind of thing. I'm exhibiting red flags of violent behavior. Now, I may or may not have a background. If I do have a background, that could potentially enhance. I've got a firearm charge. Ex-girlfriend tells about it, strengthening the red flag. So the red flag law is to let law enforcement know, and in some cases, using a firearm restraining order, which I didn't know about until this last shooting even existed. Since I'm a red flag, my guns can be confiscated because I'm continuing to show a threat to harm others, including myself. I think the Republican Party in all aspects and permutations of it says that it's un-American and dangerous. So I'm curious of what you think about red flag laws.
The way you're presenting it makes me lean towards, well, if you're already threatening people, right? Like if someone is actively threatening other individuals and it's documented, well documented, right? And you've gone through all the proper procedures, then there's no need for this person. This person should at least have a pause on their access to arms until they've gone through the proper evaluations, programs, whatever, to get the help they need to get their mental health under control or whatever other conditions may be impacting them, right? Because I don't want to just place blame only on mental health. Having not seen the way it's written,
right? Sure.
I'm wondering what specifics are in there.
I would encourage anyone to look up red flag laws. Its details. More details can be found about it that I'm providing at 8:50 in the morning over 2 cups of coffee. I wouldn't suggest people.
I don't want to simplify things here. This is much more complex.
But it's from what I've read, the purpose of red flag laws is to protect people if people have been documented to be a threat to themselves and others. The Highland Park shooter had been reported. The police had been to his house. They confiscated like 20 knives at first. He had threatened his family. And the Highland Park police, while not documenting him a red flag, said that he was a clear and present danger. That's a quote. The Illinois State Police still decided to issue him a FOID card. So so my whole thing is that I think that's the issue right there. And I personally wouldn't have any issue with that kind of individual not having access to firearms.
Right.
That's just one case. One
I
drop in
wouldn't
the bucket.
either, but if in fact, he had been deemed a red flag by certain entities, right? And he had a history of threatening even his own family, how did our systems fail him in providing him the help that he needed to prevent this tragedy?
Some would say the system didn't fail him. The system was set up like that.
Well, maybe that in and of itself is the failure.
Absolutely, sure, absolutely. Like kids going to 14-year-olds getting 8 years in adult prison. Oh, the system failed them. Maybe it didn't fail them.
Oh, I agree that our systems are set up,
Yeah.
but in being set up that way,
exactly,
they fail.
Right, exactly. So, and as it's 8:52. This. You must have sprinkled some fast juice on the thing. I don't know. It never goes as fast. Your mission as the chair of the Kendall County Democratic Party is to field candidates, get new candidates. How is that going out there in Kendall County?
Sure. I know I was in Denver this last week with visiting my brother. But even there, doing the work of the party. Yeah. Right before I hopped on a plane to fly out there, we slated a candidate for House District 75. So Heidi Henry will be running on the Democratic side of the ballot in House District 75. She filed her paperwork in Springfield yesterday morning.
Shout out to Heidi Henry.
And then we did slate 2 additional candidates for Kendall County Board in District 1. So they also filed their paperwork yesterday. So Audra Hendricks and Marta Keene will be on the ballot along with 4 other Democratic candidates. Kendall County split into 2 districts. I know in Kane County for County Board there is a myriad. Mm-hmm. There are a myriad of districts, right? Kendall County, we only have 2 districts and we have 5 people representing each district.
Okay.
Right? So we now have 6 Democrats on the ballot total, 3 in District 1 and 3 in District 2. So with Audra Hendricks and Marta Keene being on the ballot, and then Melinda Griffin, who filed during petition season and was on the primary ballot. Those are our 3 candidates in District 1. And in District 2, we have Elizabeth Flowers, who is our current incumbent. And then we have Zach Bachman and myself.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Like to see it. We fans, we supporters, yeah. Diane Stoblin, good morning to you. Dora says, gun violence should be treated like gang activity has been dealt with in Aurora. Task force, enforcement, and regulation. Knock and talks to the parents' education. This is a community security issue that we can't afford to not address. Absolutely. Absolutely. In retrospect, the 4th of July parade was not a parade in Aurora. It was a
tour.
A procession. They called it, right? They called it a procession. I remember when it first got announced, because I think one of the issues in town here locally was that it was sprung on people, and a lot of people just got an email that said, like, your participation is not needed this year. We know that, well, not that we know, but cities typically, the way they do things or the reasoning for it, they may not communicate it well. A lot of times, cities just don't get their message out right, and it looks haphazard or even wrong. In retrospect, though, for a large city like Aurora, I think that they made the right decision. I'd like to believe, perhaps naively, that in conjunction with the law enforcement here, sheriffs, Kane County, that they probably saw online chatter and thought, you know what, perhaps it would be a better idea to have a procession as opposed to a parade. We really don't know that, if that was the reasoning for it, but it definitely seems plausible. Or does it not? What do you think?
I don't know. Not knowing all the factors, not knowing the chatter that may have been going on behind the scenes, the stuff that people in law enforcement hear that we don't. Right. Right? It's really hard to make any type of assumption.
All right. The time is 8:55 a.m. So what did we forget? What you got going on what's going on today? What you got this weekend? What's happening?
Tonight I have a class in Kendall County at their emergency management agency.
Okay.
They are in the midst of running their very first ever community emergency response team courses.
Okay.
So tonight is the second to last class. Next week is our final exam where we have to go through and like search buildings for injured people and do all this kind of stuff, because then if there were an actual emergency situation where first responders might be more slow to arrive because of the size or the conditions or whatever, in various communities there are these community emergency response teams, and then you're on call to go in and help in the ways that you've been trained to do. So I'm working on that. I'm also part of the Illinois Department of Human Services Reimagine Public Safety Act for the local advisory council here in Aurora.
Okay.
And we have a meeting next week, and we're working on making our community safer here through providing different grant funds and opportunities that we're working on that come through the state.
Okay. All right. How can people get in contact with the party, or if it was interested, especially in Kendall County, if anyone wants to?
Sure. Currently, you can reach out to me as chair at bshanley@kendalldems.net.
Okay. bshanley@kendalldems.net. Norma Peterson says, great show. Thank you very much, Norma Peterson. We appreciate it. The time is 8:57 a.m. Well, I think that's where we will wrap it up, because I know how it is with, see, you're a talented guest. I know if I ask you anything with just 3 minutes left, it's not going to be like, yo, we got 10 extra minutes. No, we don't. I have a Zoom call and meeting at 10 o'clock that I am moderately prepared for. Okay. We appreciate you coming on the show again.
Yeah, thank you. I love being here.
Always.
Always
Definitely.
good.
Yep. And if there's any other news or anything you'd like us to detail, feel free to send it to us. As
Thank
always.
you. I definitely will.
I hope that all of you guys have a great, positive, wonderful Tuesday today. Tomorrow is Wednesday. It's another great episode of Buenos Dias, Aurora. Medea has a great guest, so stay tuned to that. All the news. The second largest city's first bilingual news podcast will be tomorrow. Good Morning, Aurora will return on Thursday with Jen Mendoza. She will be here. Yep. Jen Mendoza will be the guest, Moms for Moms, and her daughter will be in the house as well.
I know, she just published a book.
That's right. So she published a book, and we recently interviewed the Dream Scribers, a bunch of young kids publishing books, gave me great motivation. I have since dusted off all of my Google Drive stuff, and I've started writing again. Now, I will finish my book.
Now, tomorrow, you need to ask Jen about the Fox Valley Kiwanis that has been forming over the last year or so.
Oh, I've seen. Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Greater Fox Valley area Kiwanis. Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, take care of yourself and each other.